What is going on, guys? Killscope here, and welcome to my review of Batman Arkham Knight. So in this review I'm going to be covering all the pros and cons and some of my favorite features of the game, along with my overall thoughts on the story and what could have improved and what could have so-and-so that could be taken out or fixed. So this will be filled with spoilers, so if you haven't finished the game or haven't even picked it up yet and are just waiting to pick up the game, I would not watch this review. I'd go watch the spoiler-free one. Okay, so now that those people have left, first I want to talk about the story. So the story overall revolves around Scarecrow as the main antagonist, along with side villain the Arkham Knight. So that kind of brings up the fact that the game is titled Batman Arkham Knight, but Scarecrow's the main villain. I mean, the game wouldn't sound cool if it was Batman Scarecrow, obviously, but I think Batman Arkham Knight has a badass name to it, and Arkham Knight does play a pretty decent role throughout the story. He challenges Batman on a physical level. The story overall it took a decent amount of time. The overall average amount of time to finish the story was 12 hours. I'm guessing that's based on without dying or dying like very little. To me, it felt more like, say, 20-24 hours, and then a ton of side missions, so that's good. Overall, the game felt a lot easier than the previous games as well. The story itself, unlike the previous game, Arkham City and Arkham Origins, was dark. It was darker, grittier. I'd say it was more suspenseful than the previous games, and at times emotional. It puts you at the edge of your seat at certain times as well, so always wanting more. Now for the gameplay. The gameplay, as always in the Arkham games, is incredible. It's always very fluid, very smooth, and this time they built off of those fundamental combat techniques and added on more features such as the fear takedown and the ability to pick up your opponents once they're down and beat the shit out of them again. So I think that was a really cool feature, along with a lot of other stuff. Next to after combat, I would say it's upgrades. Completely revamped the upgrade system, which is really nice. There's a lot more upgrades than before, and it really pushes the final Batman game to its limits. And back to combat. After upgrades, I'd say controls. Controls for this game are really nice. They are, again, like combat, they build off of the fundamentals and makes the game seem a lot more fun than the previous games. The game also feels a lot easier than the previous games. That might just be because I've had so much experience playing the previous games that this one just felt a lot easier. Next, I would have to say, for my favorite personal features, first off is dual play. I think that was probably one of the biggest selling points for the game, is dual play, where you're able to play as other characters in small action sequences such as Robin, Nightwing, Catwoman, and this wasn't exactly dual play, but introduces a new character, Azrael. You get to play as him for a few missions, just combat, but it's very nice. Dual play introduces a fresh new aspect to combat, and I feel like it could have been expanded into more of like the other characters you switch to. They actually have their own story as well, not just Batman, so it could expand Arkham Knight game to even a higher level. Instead of just Batman's story, you could have Nightwing's story, Catwoman's, Robin's, etc, etc. My next favorite personal feature would have to be, I guess you could say, graphics, because this has to be the best looking Batman game I've ever played. This pushes the graphics to the limits, and for those of you who don't know, this game is running on Unreal Engine 3, not Unreal Engine 4. So it's maxing out Unreal Engine 3 to its limits, and I think that's just amazing. The game looks beautiful. It looks better than a lot of the games that I currently own. It looks a lot better or as good as those games. Now for pros and cons. So pros include most of my personal features and some of the other things that I've already mentioned, such as combat, graphics, story, and dual play. For cons, there's only one con that really is there that is concerning, is the Batmobile. Now, not the Batmobile's driving, but the Batmobile's battle mode. I feel like the Batmobile's battle mode was just kind of forced into the game. It wasn't really needed. There's times where I feel like all of this could have been avoided. And there are other parts where I'm like, yeah, the battle mode's pretty cool. I mean, this really helped me out. And you have to make quick decisions, and you have to go up against a large amount of enemies, which gets really frustrating and stressful, and kind of takes the joy out of certain small parts of the game. So I feel like they could have fixed that a little bit, maybe given you the option of avoiding that situation altogether or having an alternate solution. So now we're going to talk about villains. So the villains, I've already mentioned Scarecrow and Arkham Knight are two main villains, and then they've included previous villains from the previous games, such as Two-Face, Penguin, the Riddler, Firefly, and they've included a lot of new villains as well. Man-Bat, and then what's his face that does those rituals on Lady Gotham, Professor Pig, and a lot of others that brought a fresh new aspect to the story and kept the side missions interesting. And back to the two main villains, Scarecrow, obviously. I feel like it was a nice change from Joker. It actually gave us some sort of actual story after Joker, something that we would be okay with, you know, because when Joker died, I wasn't sure what the next Batman game was going to be like after Arkham City. Not including Arkham Origins, that's completely different, just Arkham City. So I wasn't really sure, but they made Scarecrow play a very, very good job as the main villain. His overall plot for the game was nice. It made sense. It's obviously something you would do. Now for the Arkham Knight. In the beginning of the story, the Arkham Knight is not really a huge threat, but as you progress through the story, he turns into a larger threat and more of a reminder to Batman about his failures. Now, here comes the spoiler. Arkham Knight is Jason Todd. Jason Todd was one of the previous Robins that Joker killed. Now, when I found out that Arkham Knight was Jason Todd, I was a little disappointed, at the same time relieved, and at the same time felt as if it was expected. They gave a lot of hints. They even had small scenes where they showed off Jason Todd getting beaten and murdered by Joker, so that kind of gave it away a little. But I feel like Arkham Knight should not have been Jason Todd. I'm going to give you the rundown of my three choices that would have made a lot more sense, or kept the story for Arkham Knight a little bit more interesting, and kind of pushed Arkham Knight to be more of the bigger villain over Scarecrow. I'm going to go from least reasonable to most reasonable. So least reasonable would be a Bruce Wayne clone. You know, maybe some version of, like in Young Justice, where they have Project Cadmus, like they create a clone for Bruce Wayne, like Terry McGinnis was, and they portray him as a physical adversary for Batman and give him the same similar abilities as Batman has. So it keeps Batman thinking, like, you know, who is this guy? For it to be a Bruce Wayne clone, and it would have kept Rocksteady and Warner Bros. At their word, because they said it was somebody we've never seen before. But what that means is it's somebody we've never seen in the Arkhamverse. It's not somebody we haven't seen in the Batman universe. You know, that's a huge universe for Batman. Next, I think would be a great option is Talia al Ghul. Now, she was gone pretty much at the end of Arkham City, but if somehow they did manage to bring her back using the Lazarus Pit or whatever new method that they try to invent, I think it would have been a nice twist, even considering that Arkham Knight has the build of a male character, and if it turned out to be a female, that'd be a shocker, and it would really build upon the Arkham City story. It would keep it interesting, keep it Arkham City story still intact, and keep it going. Now the next choice for Arkham Knight, this is more of my, this is more what I personally think, which would have made the best sense, even though this character has not existed yet in the Arkhamverse, is a time skip Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne at a point in the comics does become Batman, or another version of Batman, a more brutal, darker version that he will kill if necessary. And I think that would have been very interesting, because Batman would not have known that who Damian Wayne was until he explains it to him, you know, like, I'm from the future. So that would have also kept Rocksteady at their word for saying it's someone we've never seen before, because it's clearly somebody we've seen in the Batman universe, but not in the Arkhamverse. And it would actually keep Arkham Knight as a stronger and more difficult opponent for Batman to handle. So now for the overall verdict. For pros: combat, graphics, story, dual play, and villains, and side missions. For cons: Batmobile's battle mode. Overall score, 9 out of 10. That's all I have for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to smack that like button if you enjoyed this review. And remember to share the video as well. It really helps my channel grow, and I really appreciate it. Also remember to subscribe. I really appreciate the support for that as well. And if you have any comments about this review or anything else particularly on my channel, leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'll see you guys in the next one.